Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Franco, and today I'll be sharing with you how I grease up my Kubota Mini Excavator. So tomorrow I'll be doing some work here in the Homestead, and the Kubota needs to be greased up. So I'm going to take the opportunity to show you guys how I grease up the machine and what tools I use to get it done quickly. So to grease up the machine, I use a Dewalt cordless electric grease gun. I have also upgraded the coupler on this Dewalt electric grease gun. I have added a LockNLube coupler. The LockNLube coupler allows you to attach and release in a much easier fashion, and also prevents possible damage you can cause to the grease fitting. So after I'm done greasing up the machine, I'll take you guys in the workshop and I'll do a quick overview of the tool itself. Alright, so here are the tools. I have a small screwdriver, a brush, my grease gun, some rags, as well as my Lincoln adapter kit. This is good to have because sometimes some of the fittings you cannot get to easily, so you have to have a right angle adapter or some other kind of adapter to get in there. So the first thing I do is to clean off all the fittings down low on the machine. All the fittings for the dozer blade as well as the bucket. It's probably better off if you pressure wash your machine before you go ahead and grease it up. That way it'll clear off all the dirt and debris. But sometimes that's just not practical. Here's one that's full of crap right here. So working this in a clockwise motion is only going to tighten the grease fitting. It's not going to break it loose. Alright, so all the grease fittings on the dozer blade are nice and clean and ready to accept the grease coupler. So the same thing here for the bucket. Some of these things get just chock full of dirt and debris. So that one's good. It's amazing how quickly these things get full of dirt and crap. You don't want all this dirt and sand to get inside your coupler and the grease gun. It's going to lead to premature wear. So it's up to you if you want to just keep the dirt in there and try to shove the coupler on there and end up breaking something. It doesn't take that much time to go around with a screwdriver and a rag and to prep all your fittings. Alright, so all the grease fittings near the bucket are all set to go. Alright, so next step is to grab the grease gun and to get to work. So what I'm listening for is for the air to escape out of the seams, and then once it gets filled in with some grease, then I'll be done pumping. I like to keep a rag handy, that way I can wipe off the coupler if I need to. As you can see, I'm hands-free. One hand is on the grease gun, and now one hand is free to stabilize myself on the machine. Try doing this with a lever action pump style, grease gun. You almost need 3 hands. Alright, so now the arm is completely done. Now let's move our way on to the boom. Alright, so the upper boom is done. Let's move on to the lower part. This will get the boom cylinder on the other end. So these two I'll show you last. Those are for the main bearing on where the cab meets the bottom of the machine. So you have your swing bearing and then you have your swing bearing teeth. So I'll be able to do that last, and I'll show you the trick I use to grease those up. So over on this side of the machine, there are two fittings here hidden for the swing fulcrum. The LockNLube gets right in there, makes quick work of these fittings. So while we're on this side, let's take care of the dozer blade. Dozer blade gets the dirtiest out of anything on the machine, so you have to really grease it up, that way nothing gets inside the bushings and wears things out. So sometimes it is necessary to give it a little wiggle. That way the sleeve comes down on top of the four jaws, the four jaw collet, and really tightens down on them, because it may pop out. All right, that's good. Alright, so next I'm going to show you my trick on how to lubricate the swing bearing and the swing bearing teeth. So right now I'm going to grease up the swing bearing. And this is my setup here. I have the lead running up to the grease gun, which is sitting on top of the hood. I'm going to go inside the cab, I'm going to reach out the window, and then I can operate the grease gun while the machine is turning. So by doing this, I can evenly grease up the bearing all the way around 360 degrees. So right there was me greasing up the swing bearing. Next will be the swing bearing teeth. The swing bearing teeth require a lot more grease, so we'll be continuously holding down the trigger on the grease gun as I make a 360 degree move. Alright, so now I'm completely done with all the grease fittings on the machine. I'm going to take this back to the workshop and show you guys the grease gun. So this is what it comes with when you get it brand new. You have a hard shell case. You have your owner's manual. You get the grease gun. You get the lead. You get a sling. So this is what comes on the grease gun from the factory. It is a pretty decent coupler, but I replaced mine with a LockNLube coupler. Alright, so let's take the grease gun back out and bring it to the bench. It uses your standard Dewalt lithium-ion 20-volt batteries. So one of the factors in buying this grease gun is because I already have a bunch of Dewalt tools that use the 20-volt battery. So it only makes sense that I would buy something that would utilize the same kind of batteries. Milwaukee also makes a really nice grease gun, but since I already have Dewalt, I kind of stuck with Dewalt. So right here is a bleeder screw. That way you can purge all the air out of the system when you insert a new grease tube. The lead itself from this point to the end of this coupler is 44 inches. So in order to refill this grease gun, all you have to do is basically pull back on this handle, lock this into place, and then now you can unscrew this. Alright, so it looks like I need some grease. Let's go ahead and put a new tube in here. So I just took out the empty grease tube, and now I will replace it with a nice brand new one. So when we put this back in, we want the metal side of the tube to be sticking out where the threads are. Just like so. Now we will reinsert it in and thread it back into the grease gun. Alright, so that's nice and tight. Now we can release the handle. Alright, so once you insert the tube holder back in, all you have to do is open up the bleed screw all the way out and see if there's any air. And I don't have any air. I have just grease coming out. Typically, when it's brand new, you would have air coming out of this little hole here where you see grease coming out. There's already been grease in this system, so pretty much we're not going to have to bleed this thing for air because it's already all set. So I will close this up, and that's all taken care of. So this tool feels very heavy duty. It feels solid, it feels very well built. It has a nice rubber grip. Also, there's a rubber grip here on the end. So the front end of the grease gun has a nice LED light that's switchable on and off. This is great if you're greasing up something at nighttime and you need to see. You have your sling attachment points here, as well as another sling mount here as well. You also have a trigger lock, so you can prevent it from not pumping grease if you were to hit it by mistake. So really quick, I'll show you guys the label, and the model number is DCGG571, cordless grease gun. And it's a 20 volt max, and it's a 10,000 PSI grease gun. So now I'm going to tell you about the upgrade I made to this grease gun. I added a Gurtech LockN'lube coupler. This makes it really easy to attach and release the coupler from the grease fitting. It doesn't put any extra stress or strain on the grease fitting when you go to remove it from the grease fitting. It basically allows you to clamp on with these 4 jaws, and once you release the lever, it retracts back into position and tightens up on the grease fitting. This thing is really great. I wouldn't use another grease gun without it. I also want to show you this Lincoln adapter kit for grease guns. There's all sorts of attachments and extensions depending on what you need. Here is a right angle adapter. Here's another right angle adapter, but with a press-on type. Right here is a multi-positional adapter that locks on. So right here we have a rubber-tipped nozzle, and here is a smaller injector needle nozzle. So the hole on this is pretty damn small. It's about 20 thousandths diameter. So what I want to show you is that this clears the LockN'lube coupler. It comes close to hitting this, but there's still plenty of clearance there, and it makes its proper attachment. So now you can use this to grease up all sorts of small little fittings, small little holes and orifices. Or if you just wanted to use the grease gun to lube up something else. So if you guys are interested, I may do a separate video on just this Lincoln adapter kit. That may come in the future. Just stay tuned. But I'm really happy with the grease gun. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. Well guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please go ahead and do so. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.